People who work at a Subway sandwich place. What is the strangest order you've ever had from a customer? I worked in a pizza place and at one point we had a man walk in and order a personal cheese pizza. Then he specified that he wanted no sauce. Then added that he wanted no cheese. Then decided he'd like to add uncooked cherry tomatoes as a topping. We ended up cooking a slab of dough and throwing some cherry tomatoes on top. He then proceeded to use the pizza crust as a plate for his tomatoes. Then threw the crust away after finishing his tomatoes. We had a salad bar with the exact same tomatoes as well. Back in high school, I worked at the local Subway. Every night, 30 minutes to an hour before close, this large African American man built like an NFL linebacker would come in, and no matter how many or what kinds, would clean out whatever was left of our cookies for the night. 2 oatmeal raisins, a dozen chocolate chip, a smattering of everything. Didn't matter, he'd purchase every single cookie left and leave. We nicknamed him Cookie Monster. Dang, it probably would have been cheaper for him to learn how to bake or just buy them at the store. My town had a lot of foreign exchange students from South Korea and they would always order the meatball subs with scoops of seafood sensation, which was just mayo and imitation crab. Then have it toasted. It smelled horrible. Also had a guy that could barely talk, he was so high wanted every sauce on his chicken bacon ranch. It was more soup by the end. Then he gets to the register and he remembers he doesn't have any money and walks away. My manager actually asked anyone if they wanted it. A regular I had years ago would get the seafood, add tuna, add sweet onion sauce, toasted, smelled like death. Worked the night shift for Subway during college. Had a regular come in at 3 AM usually that would request that we toast the crap out of his sandwich. I'm talking the whole thing was basically charcoal. First time he came in while I was on shift, I pulled his sandwich out of the toaster and he told me to put it back in, and again, and again. I thought he was a drunk guy fricking with me. Apparently he really liked the taste of burnt everything. Grossed me out, but as long as he paid I didn't really care. This one guy used to come into my sub shop at least twice a week. Always ordered a steak and cheese with extra ketchup. Except you couldn't put enough ketchup on it. We could use over half a bottle and he would still come back and ask for the bottle because packets took too much time. Okay, but also, packets do often take too much time. I used to work at McDonald's. We had a regular customer who wanted a plain quarter pounder, no bun, extra pickles. Basically, just a 1-stroke 4lb beef patty with like a half cup of pickle slices on top of it. Dude was on that keto status. I worked at a Burger King my junior year of high school, not a sandwich shop, but play along. I was on specialty board, chicken and fish mainly. This order came through for an original chicken with HHHH mayo. H in the training stood for heavy or extra. I asked my manager if it was a typo and they said no, this guy comes in once a week for that sandwich. I swear, by the time my manager said the sandwich was proper, the mayo was thicker than the chicken patty itself. I felt like I needed to bathe afterwards. My father eats mayo like this. He keeps mayo packets in his car because the place is never put enough on even when you ask for extra. He eats his sandwiches by taking a bite, squirting mayo on, taking a bite, squirting mayo on, etc. I can't eat around him when he has a sandwich. Don't work there anymore, but the one order that sticks in my mind above everything else was one time a guy came in on the phone to order 2 sandwiches and he explained one was for his 7 months pregnant wife, so to please make it right. He has a list of exactly what she wants. So I made it exactly how it was written down, then made his and he paid and all was good in the world. Then maybe 10 minutes later the phone rings and I answer it and there is this woman on the phone just screaming at me telling me I made her sandwich wrong and how she wanted ranch instead of mayo and blah blah and that she would send her husband in to get it remade. You know, full Karen minus the let me speak to the manager bit. So the guy comes back in and I immediately recognize him and he's apologizing profusely, explaining that his wife is pregnant and hormones and whatnot. And I assured him I've been yelled at for less, it's no big deal, I'll remake it at no charge. He has the offending sandwich. I remake it right and throw the old one away. and as I'm ringing up the order, even though it was free it still had to be rung up at $0 for bread count accuracy. The phone rings. So I hand the man his sandwich and answer the phone, and there is this woman on the phone hysterically crying on the other end, and so I ask if she's alright and she informs me that she called earlier and she felt horrible about yelling at me because she realized she wrote it down wrong and it wasn't my fault, and the whole time I'm just awkwardly telling her that it's okay. No big deal, we got it taken care of. You're okay, don't worry about it. It's no big deal. And then she, still sobbing, asks me straight up, do you forgive me? And I said it's all good, no worries, and she said number. Do you forgive me? And I said yeah, don't worry about it, and she asked again, but do you forgive me? And I replied yes, I forgive you. Have a great night mom. After which she hung up. I still remember that even 7 years later because it was the only time I've ever had a customer call back not only to apologize, but crying about it as well. Ironically, for the question, I don't actually remember what the specific sandwich was. I wanna say it was an oven roasted chicken breast, but I truly am just taking a shot in the dark. Pregnancy is a hell of a drug. Not an order, but my boyfriend had a customer come in with a Kermit the Frog puppet. The customer spoke through the puppet. Had my boyfriend hand the change to the puppet and also slide the sandwich to the puppet. We had frozen egg discs that we were supposed to heat in the oven. I say egg, but really it was more of a frozen circle of egg whites with a yellow piece in the middle that may or may not be missing depending on luck of the draw. This one guy would come in every shift I had and order just the egg circle, but didn't want us to heat it up. We handed him hard, frozen, disgusting looking discs that sounded like rocks when banged against the counter, covered in ice flakes. He barely spoke English, so the first time he showed up we were very confused to say the least. But once we understood, he was very happy with his egg hockey pucks. This is definitely the most unique one I've read so far. What a weird eating habit. What can I get for you? I'll get a 6-inch honey wheat. Just condiments. Just condiments. Just condiments. All of them, if you don't mind. That day ruled. Used to have a guy come in regularly to order a foot long on white, double mayo, salt, pepper. He then sat in the lobby and ate the whole thing. Was getting breakfast at this place called the Great Canadian Bagel Company. The girl ahead of us gets a breakfast sandwich with extra mayo and then says, like a serious amount of mayo, more than you think is comfortable. The guy does a solid 4 servings and she shakes her head in disgust, shame, and is like, number. I'm actually messed up. I need more mayo. Took everything in me not to laugh as it happened. At least she knew she had a problem. I worked at Subway many years ago. There was a couple that would come in semi-regularly and she wanted just a double helping of American cheese on white bread. No veggies, no condiments, just cheese. I never charged her for the extra cheese since I figured the veggies she wasn't getting offset it. Eventually she started asking for more and more cheese until it was easily 10x what came on it. She must have been bummed when I quit. That cheese sandwich probably would have cost about $10 if someone who gave a crap rang it up. I was at a Subway last month and waited in line behind an older guy who ordered 2 of that exact cheese sandwich. Not even toasted, just cold cheese on plain bread. The sandwich artist looked confused and kept asking if he was sure, and the guy kept saying yes, that's what she wants. I'm sorry, LOL. I worked at a Subway a long time ago and a guy would order 2 full bags of lettuce on his sandwich every day. Imagine 2 pounds of lettuce on some bread. He would order often enough that I knew to go in the back and grab 2 full bags just for him. Quiznos, mostly working with teens. This one kid brings in a bunch of Tupperwares at the beginning of his shift. Weird, but I don't care. End of his shift. Edit 3. Not closing time. We had a line up, and his mom shows up to give him a lift. He starts filling the Tupperwares with chili. Turns out his mom tried it one day and loved it. Whole family tried. They all love it. They'd made a deal with our boss to buy bulk chili every week. I forgot all about Alice Cooper. Came in near closing. Went straight for the cookies. This is a mall food court. He was actually looking for a Starbucks, since we were about the only place still open near 10 PM. He came to ask us. Except I don't drink Starbucks, my boss don't drink Starbucks, and the cashier who does know can't speak because she's frozen up in the face of Alice frickin' Cooper. I knew at least which exit to take to the Starbucks down the street. Cashier managed to nod along with my directions. Then Alice Cooper bought about 10 Quiznos cookies and left, looking for a Starbucks. By the moment boss worked out a price for the chili. He actually hosts the radio night hours during the week on Classic Rock 101.5 now. Was quite a shock when I first started listening to the station. Just to be clear, I'm well aware he's doing this nationally. I'm not some starstruck fan thinking he's just living in a town of 50k people in the butt crack of nowhere doing a show on a little radio station, lol. I worked at a Subway next to the shadiest motel in town and H would come in all the time. For the most part they were fine, but one lady would come in and get the cold cut combo and ask for oil on it. I always loved watching new employees make her food because of the look of amusement, turning to confusion, turning to horror as she demanded more oil. Empty the bottle on this sandwich and she'd get all huffy and rudely ask you to refill it and keep going. By the time you were done the bread was so saturated with oil that it just mushed apart if you tried to touch it. You had to use the paper to try and topple the oily mess into a vaguely sub-shaped blob and roll it up fast before it leaked everywhere. I always wished she'd stay in the lobby to eat it just once, so I could be sure she really intended to use it as food, but she always shuffled back to the motel to have her oily feast. Being strung out on some drugs can make it incredibly hard to crap. I'm wondering if she found a solution for that. I worked at a Subway for a couple months after high school. While working there I had a very polite customer, who was pregnant at the time, come in every other week or so and order the same foot-long ham sandwich. What made this sandwich so strange was that she would ask for a ton of black olives, like multiple, whole handfuls of black olives, so much that it was hard to close up and wrap the sandwich without some olives spilling out. Some of my coworkers would only give her so much before they refused to add more. There were no rules, to my knowledge, stating a limit on the amount of black olives a customer could request, so I always obliged. Knowing this, she would refuse help from my co-workers and wait for me to make her foot-long black olive sandwich. She would always comment that it was something she started ordering after becoming pregnant and it was the baby that wanted the olives. Some time had passed where I didn't see her come in anymore, until one day, I see her walk in with a stroller and her brand new baby daughter. She brought her in so I could meet the olive baby. She thanked me for all the times I made her olive sandwich just the way she liked it and then proceeded to order a ham sandwich. Only this time, she asked for just a few olives. I quit a short time after, but I still think about that sandwich and the olive baby from time to time. If she didn't name that baby Olive. Worked at a sandwich burrito shop in my college dorm. This chick used to always order frickin' jelly in her burrito. It was so weird. At least she uses jelly, better than Vaseline. Worked at a pizza place for like 5 minutes during uni. Guy used to come in and order a calzone stuffed with just ketchup, no cheese, no actual tomato sauce. I'd assume this is why you quit. Worked at Subway. This 50-year-old trucker asked me to toast a tuna sandwich, put extra pickles and sprinkle 2 Splenda packages on top. That was all the sandwich had. My dad puts grape jelly on his tuna sandwiches. Not a sandwich shop, but I was a pizza maker for years at a pretty nice restaurant. Think Caribus but local owned and French trained head chef. Anyway, a bus full of special needs folks and their helpers came in one day kind of in between lunch and dinner like about 2:30ish. They all order food and are having a great time. Italian music blasting, delicious homemade bread at the table. Everyone's having a great time. The order comes to me. Nothing too memorable except for this one specific pie. Small cheese pizza. No cheese. No sauce. I check with the server. Yet that's what he requested. No oil. No nothing. So I make it. One beautiful fresh made dough ball expertly tossed and shaped into a small pizza. I stay on top of it in the oven, popping all the little bubbles that rise up and push them back down flat. It finishes and I cut it into 6 slices. She brings it to the table. The chef wants me to go out and make sure everyone is enjoying their meal. I go. The gentleman eating that unique pizza is ecstatic, tells me and the whole restaurant that this is the best pizza he's ever had. And I truly believe he meant it. This was about 20 years ago and I think about that table often. I've cooked and sold thousands of pizzas and that was my most memorable for sure. I hope that guy is doing well and I hope he is still trying all the pizzas this world has to offer. Worked at a Subway and a guy ordered a meatball sub, no sauce, but with copious amounts of vinegar. Also worked at Sonic and had multiple times where a lady ordered tomato sandwiches, just tomatoes and a bun. Tomato sandwiches, buttered Italian bread, tomatoes, salt, pepper, are very popular in my family. They're normally made with fresh bread and thick sliced tomatoes from the garden though, so I can't imagine the Sonic version would cut it. I had to cut extra holes in Swiss cheese gore an 8-year-old. Been the strangest request since we opened in 2007. The fact that you did it makes you a much nicer person than I am. I haven't worked at Subway for like 15 years but will never forget the butthole regular that came in and wanted a frick ton of olives and drowned in Chipotle. He was a dong the entire time for no reason, so we all got real passive aggressive with him and just did the prescribed 6 olives at a time and 3 lines of dressing. He turned red, called the owner, he bitched enough the manager was told to just have him call the owner, and the owner would just say they're doing it how they're trained and how Subway requires. He'd disappear for a month or so then repeat. Worked at Subway for a couple years back in the day. Strangest order ever. 2-foot-long seafood delight. Basically imitation crab meat drowned in mayo. Subs, double meat, wheat bread, toasted, no toppings except for heaping amounts of salt on both. Never saw this customer again. They probably died of a stroke. Used to work in a deli that also made some simple breakfast items in the mornings. One day a lady ordered a Western omelette. Hold the eggs. I had to specify 3 times that she did not want any eggs in the omelette. We made her a salad of diced ham, onions, green bell peppers, with salsa, and she seemed pleased with this. At McDonald's a guy came in and said he had lost a bet and as a result had to order a double cheeseburger with 17 extra patties and bacon and cheese between each patty. I don't remember how much it cost, but we had to tape several wrappers together just to cover it up and keep it sort of together. I think we gave him a knife and fork to eat it with. Worked at a barbecue place that mostly sold sandwiches. I worked the caller headphones for a while and we had a customer call up and ask us if we could put the entire sandwich combo, sides and all, through a blender. Poor guy had jaw surgery and hadn't eaten anything but fruit smoothies for almost a month. We didn't even own a blender, but this was one of those never say no to the customer places and I could literally get written up for refusing a request. I got my manager on the line who tried his best to explain exactly how grotesque his order was, but the guy wouldn't budge. Long story short, we bought a blender. So I used to work with developmentally disabled individuals, and one of them couldn't eat solid foods. We took him to Subway one time, and we straight up brought a blender with us and used it to puree his food at the table. We got some stares, but we didn't mind. My buddy got his sub and he was so happy. Not a Subway employee, but I was once standing behind a guy that said just F me up with olives, and the woman working behind the counter proceeded to put 2 handfuls on olives on a 6-inch sub and the bloke goes perfect. Very strange. This is how I order pickles on my subs and I love employees who just go for it. Don't work there, but they ordered a veggie delight on flatbread, but the only veggies they wanted was olives and they asked for it to be absolutely doused in oil and vinegar. Like it looked like a soggy waffle with olives sticking out. Not a sandwich story, but in high school I worked at the movie theater. This dude asked for extra butter on his popcorn, so I squirted his butter on while giving him the nod, but it wasn't enough. He kept asking for more and I was a little butthole, so I just kept going. After the movie, dude walked out and had a massive butter stain in his dong area on his pants. I was very proud of myself. Another time this dude wanted butter in his Crunch Bits chocolate box, so I put butter in and watched him drink the butter chocolate mix. Nope. Don't understand why out of everything this was the one to make me gag. Worked at a small town Subway for 5 years in high school and university. We had this guy come in that we called the Mountain. He was at least 300 pounds and probably 6 feet 5 inches. He always came in wearing full fleece camo outfit. In a his order would always be the same, which is why I remember it so well. The guy would get a foot long with the barbecue rib patty, the most disgusting thing on the menu, and the veggie patty, the second most disgusting thing on the menu. He would also get quadruple extra bacon, the same amount as a foot long BLT with double meat, in addition to all the meat, He would get regular amounts of every cheese. Just to recap, at this point he has enough meat for 4 footlongs and enough cheese for 4 on one goddamn footlong. Now, here's where it gets good. This dude wouldn't get any veggies. He would ask for just salt, not salt and pepper, just salt, and the cherry on top. He would say don't bother cutting it in half. Just gonna start at one end and stop at the other. The veggie patty isn't really disgusting, as most of you know. Every meat there is processed anyway, so it probably wasn't appropriate for me to label it as the second most disgusting. However, the barbecue probably is. The box it is delivered in is labeled bonus barbecue rib shaped pork burger. I don't remember the exact wording, but all of those words were included in the title. I estimated the cost to the best of my knowledge and ended up in the $26.28 Canadian dollars range. This was 10 years ago. All the talk about this guy's one-liner reminded me of some other customers. We had a family dinner special where you buy 3 footlongs for $20 or whatever. A guy comes in and orders 3 footlong chicken teriyakis. Me, would you like them in a bag? Him, no thanks. They are for here. There was no one else with him. We have the cold cut combo, which has been identified in the comments below as the most disgusting meat available. One guy came in and ordered a footlong dirty meat. Though I had never heard that term before, I knew exactly what he meant. Another funny thing that comes to mind is the funny things people would say when they order Monterey cheddar bread, Montgomery cheddar, Monterey cheddar, Monterey cheddar. Heroes get remembered, but legends never die. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.